Do you ever get great news from a friend? Like they reach out to you and they're like, hey, guess what happened? Like maybe it's not even a close friend. You know, sometimes we'll just be on LinkedIn and then you see all that I'm delighted to announce, you know, new job, shiny promotion, cool sounding title. And you want to be happy for them and you are happy for them. But you also underneath are just feeling this sinking feeling of why isn't it happening for me? And if you are, then you are not alone. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about in this video today, is what happens when we are feeling triggered in this way and how can we support ourselves in moments like these. If you're new here, I'm Kieran, coach, career strategist, and creator of the Possibility Pattern. This channel is all about swapping perfection for possibility and building our lives and careers around who we really are rather than who we've been told to be. So if you have outgrown the version of success that you were taught to chase and you're ready for a career that feels like it's really yours, then you're in the right place. Let me tell you a story about one of my clients who just went through this exact thing and is what inspired me to make this video. One of her friends reached out to her, sent her a message, and the message was like, great news, got that job. And she read the message and was like, oh, she was really happy. Like her instinct was to be happy for her friend. But at the same time, she felt really conflicted because she also just felt that overwhelming feeling of pain. And it just sent her into a spiral. This is a client who is also looking for a job as well at the moment. So she was saying to me, it just feels like it's so much easier for everybody else. I feel like I've been at this for so long, and when is it going to be my turn? What's wrong with me that it's not happening for me? And on top of that, she also felt like I just want to be happy for my friend. Like I feel so bad that I can't just be completely happy for my friend. She doesn't deserve for me to feel this way about it. And I couldn't even reply the message, and I just had to leave it and I just went back to bed. And I feel like that's so relatable. This happens to so many of us all the time. We're just like out of the blue, something like this can trigger you into a spiral. And that's the reason why perfectionist thinking can be so harmful, because it doesn't always look like I need to be perfect, or you know, it's just about like high standards. Sometimes perfectionist thinking can also be, I think I should be further ahead than I am right now, or if I were doing this right, then this wouldn't be so hard, which is exactly the kind of thought spiral that my client was falling into. And the thing is that she wasn't actually jealous. Like she didn't want to take this away from her friend. She didn't want her friend to not have it. She was really happy for her friend. But what was actually happening was that she was grieving the gap between where she was right then in that moment and who she wanted to be, what she wanted to have. And that experience from her friend, that message from her friend, was highlighting that gap. I am not as far as I want to be. So when we were talking about it in the session, she was being really hard on herself for both feeling really upset about the message, but also feeling like, why can't I just be happy for my friend? And this is where just focusing on mindset can get us into trouble, because just from a mindset perspective, you just tell yourself to like think more positively about your own situation, or you need to just be happy for yourself. Sometimes we, you know, if we're talking to our friends about stuff like this, our friends can say stuff like, just be happy for them, or it'll work out for you, like just stay positive and, you know, something's going to come through for you. And it's well-meaning advice, obviously, but that's not necessarily the solve, because I don't know about you, but just, you know, just stay positive. It's really hard to just stay positive when you're feeling really shitty. What's really happening has more to do with your nervous system than it does with your mindset. Because what's happening is that when you're feeling triggered in that way, your nervous system essentially is activated because your body suddenly feels like it's not safe. And when your body doesn't feel safe, it is really difficult for your mind or your brain to access things like hope, or that positivity, or just that complete free joy. Even things like logic or perspective are really hard to access when we're in this stress response, because our body is like, we gotta survive, and it goes into a survival response. And that's not necessarily where logic or positive thinking lives. And your nervous system response is going to be different. But for example, for my client, she went into a freeze mode. And so if you find yourself like she did, wanting to just go to sleep, or wanting to just, you know, avoid and shut down, or, you know, you're going to your numbing behaviors, that's when you're kind of going into a freeze. For other people, it may activate you into the fight response and you might get really angry. Or if you go into flight, you might just want to run away. This is important because it's not a flaw in your mindset. It's your biology. And to be honest, your biology doing what it was designed to do, which is to keep you safe. So before we could even talk strategy or talk about confidence or what she could do next, the very first thing that she needed to do is to regulate her nervous system and getting her back into a place where she could even begin to start thinking differently. So we didn't start with affirmations or mindset shifts or anything like that. We started with regulation. And I guided her through 2 exercises that I want to tell you about now because I think they're so quick and simple and easy for you to be able to go to them whenever you feel like you're feeling similar as well. The first thing that we did was a few rounds of breathing, in particular, the physiological sigh. So I find that this one is a very good place to start because I feel like when you're feeling activated, it's a really good one to do because it's a little active. If you're feeling very stressed and then trying to immediately go into the calm, long exhales, sometimes you're just not there yet. And the way that you do that, you do a big inhale. And then at the top of the inhale, before you breathe out, you just take in another little sip of air. And then you do a long exhale through your mouth. So I'll show you what that looks like. You do a big inhale, sip, exhale. Okay, so this time do this with me. You can do whatever you're doing right now. You can still do this with me. So do a big inhale, sip at the top, and exhale. It's hard to do that while talking at the same time, but you can immediately feel the difference afterwards. Like even just doing those two, I already feel a little bit calmer. And so I usually like to do at least 3 of those kinds of breaths. The second thing that we did was a short tapping sequence, and this is known as EFT tapping. And again, this is nothing fancy, nothing crazy. It's designed to be really short, simple, and quick. It's just gentle pressure on some key points. So here on your forehead, in between your eyes, underneath your eye, on your chest. And then what I also like to do is just to take hold of my wrist, do a little squeeze, like a little bit of pressure, and then do another big inhale. So a long exhale. I actually have a follow along video where I guide you like more specifically through a whole EFT tapping sequence. And it's a follow along one that you can do just over here. But that's just to give you a quick demo of the kinds of practice that you can do that can help you to just feel much more grounded. Another thing I like to do as you're going through the tapping is to just say a mantra that just is relevant to whatever it is that you're going through. So the one that I guided her through was I release and let this go. I release and let this go. This is one of my favorites. I release and let this go. Because usually when we're doing this, we're trying to release something and let some some nonsense go. And that whole exercise of those 2 practices, probably it took less than 5 minutes. And immediately the difference between how she felt afterwards compared to before is completely different. And that spiral just softened. And not because anything to do with the circumstance had changed yet, nothing to do with the situation had changed, but her state had completely shifted. And when I told you that at the beginning, she was like here, she was like stressed, she was upset, she was activated. And doing those exercises meant that on the other side, immediately her shoulders were down, she was speaking more slowly, she was just, you could immediately tell, you can see when somebody's feeling more relaxed. And the reason why this is important is because from this calmer place, you finally start to see things in a different way because you are now able to access a different part of your brain because you are no longer in survival. And so from here, she was finally able to see all the progress that she has actually made over this period of time that she was been feeling behind. She had set up a business, she had been investing in her health, she had shown up in her for her family in remarkable ways, and she was really proud of all the ways she had grown as a person. And afterwards she actually said to me, you know, it's funny, if you'd asked me all these questions about the progress I've made before we'd done that exercise, I don't think I would have been able to articulate it. I think I would have known rationally that of course there has been some stuff that's happened that's been positive, but I just don't think I would have been able to tell you what those things were. Whereas now it feels so much easier to be able to find them. And this insight that she said that she wouldn't have been able to access it before we had done the exercises is exactly the reason why I'm sharing this with you today. Because when we are dysregulated, it's as if our brain, our mind is looking at the situation, looking at life through a distorted lens. It's looking at it through the lens of all of that fear and stress. And this is why when you're looking at it through that lens, everything feels urgent. Everything feels like a problem that needs to be fixed. And everything feels like more and more evidence and proof that you are falling behind. But regulating your nervous system is like swapping that lens. And not in the sense that, oh, you magically feel amazing. It's not necessarily about that. But in the sense that you're able to see them differently because you can kind of see clearly again. And you have more perspective. There's more spaciousness around what you're looking at, more space around what you're feeling, which allows you to be able to look at things differently. And that clarity is what makes the possibility feel visible again, which is why I talk about shifting from perfectionist thinking to possibility thinking. We're swapping that lens. Because when your body feels safe, this is when your mind is then able to have ideas, access creativity, inspiration, motivation, like all of these other things which can be kind of suppressed by that stress response. And this is the same principle behind why sometimes when you're feeling like this and you manage to get yourself to do something like, take a walk or go for your workout, or maybe you have lunch with a friend and you actually feel better afterwards. And then when you feel a bit better, you're like, you know what, actually, I feel differently about this now, or I'm seeing this differently now. It's because the activity that you did helped to regulate your nervous system and help to ground you and remind you that you're safe, which helped you to swap the lens and see things in a different way. So if you have been spiraling because you have been comparing yourself with other people, or you've been catastrophizing, or you've just been feeling really behind compared to everybody else, and it just feels like everybody else is winning, why am I still stuck? Then I know that it hurts, and it can be so tempting when you are feeling hurt like that to want to just give up completely and just be like, what's the point of even trying when it just doesn't feel like anything's happening for me? Or we can go to the other side of the spectrum where we're bullying ourselves into pushing harder, striving more, to compete more so that we can prove to ourselves and to everybody else that we are as good as everybody else that we're seeing winning. And neither side feels good, to be honest. And it's also not the most efficient and effective strategy for you to actually be able to keep moving forward and making progress on what it is that you want. So the thing to remember is that the way out of how you're feeling isn't necessarily trying to just think your way into a better feeling or into a better mindset about this. Rather than trying to go through the mind, we got to go through the body. So that is my invitation to you. Start in your body. Shake it out. Oh, hair in my mouth. Tap it out, do your tapping, do the breathing. And there's so many great resources out there now, and I have some on my channel as well. And we're not trying to fix ourselves. It's not to say that how you're feeling is a problem to be solved or that you are a problem to be solved. It's about trying to find our footing again so that we can see things in a different way and therefore move in a different way. And from that place, you might notice that possibility just feels a little bit closer. And then it's a little bit easier to be able to be happy for your friend and celebrate your friend, and also know and feel grounded in the fact that your turn is coming too. So if this resonated with you, then I'm so glad that you found your way here today. These spirals are so much more common than we think. It's just that they obviously don't make the Instagram stories or, the highlight reels. And so it can sometimes feel like we're the only one who's feeling like this and, beating ourselves up about it. So if you're mid-spiral, you're navigating one right now, then you are not behind. You're just in a moment and moments pass. If you need support right now in this moment, then check out the tapping video. It's a follow along so you can do it right now in this moment and help you just to shift into a different state. And I hope this video in itself was helped you to regulate a little bit and made you feel a little bit more hopeful. And if you want more gentle tools and gentle reminders like what I've shared with you today, then be sure to subscribe and like this video. I would love for you to stick around and come back whenever you need this reminder and to be reminded of everything that is possible for you. Let me know in the comments what this shifted for you, and be kind to yourself. I'll see you in the next one.